Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of the Digital Marketing Podcast. As always, welcome Alex from your Digital Assembly. How are you, Alex?
I'm great. I'm having a good afternoon here. Cape Town, it's freezing, cold, awaiting spring.
Yeah,
Uh,
I know we have our seasons are switched around, man. We cover all seasons as well in this podcast. And everybody, just before starting, I just wanted to let you know that Alex has been offering a free SEO audit to anybody that is interested. His team does an amazing job, by the way. If you're interested, Alex at yourdigitalassembly.com, I highly recommend it. It's free and it's very good insights that the guy is going to give you. With that said, guys, today we're gonna talk about SEO. So he's gonna give us a free audit as well, but simply on topics in this case, since we are not analyzing accounts. But before talking about SEO, right? Uh, I guess the biggest topic to cover before getting into the nitty gritty is going to be the understanding of the basics, because whenever we do something in a digital space, what people forget about are the basics. The basics are probably 60% of the work, and the rest it differentiates you from the competition. So, Alex, when it comes to basics, what are the elements of the SEO that you consider a basic that needs to be taken care of even before starting any other sort of strategy on the SEO level?
I mean, you're talking sort of first principles basis. I mean, number one, what do you want to do? No, jokes aside, I think one would say that if one were to start with something within SEO, the very basic principles is the pure understanding that if you have a website that has a history in the eyes of Google and therefore also have something called a domain authority, um, by you launching something new or adding new content to that will be a lot easier for you to start driving more traffic and sort of grow that baseline from if you were to start a something from a whole brand spanking new URL. And I
But
think like
let's take one
that,
step back,
yeah.
Alex. One step back. Don't, you said the word domain authority. Now, many people they really don't understand what domain authority is. They all know that 35 is the magic number that is considered the bare minimum, right? So domain authority literally means how much Google quote unquote trust your site. Whenever I talk to somebody that is not familiar with SEO, but also clients that, they might be a lawyer or they might be a plumber, they don't know what SEO is. All they want is to show up, right? And the way I describe the domain authority is the following. It's like whenever you go to Alex and you are in Cape Town and say, hey, Alex, where should I eat some good local cuisine? You're going to recommend me a place. Then I can go to somebody that I have no idea who he is. I just met him at the airport. I was like, hey, do you know any good place in town? And he's going to recommend me a second place. Obviously, I'm going to go to your restaurant because I've known you for 10 plus years and I trust your judgment. Somebody that I've just met, I don't really know him. Maybe like we have different interests in life, different lifestyles. What he likes is not what I like. I guess domain authority is that concept brought to the online space, right?
I think like that's a well way of putting it. And making it very, I think, very touchable and humane. So it's easy to understand. And I think like to also add like Rocco said the magic number 35, and I think what he meant by saying that is that the trustworthiness and ranks between zero, so that would be a completely new domain, or something that is really poor, to something that has 100 that is extremely high. So I'd say that say New York Times would, I think, have a domain authority of say 93, 94 or so.
Yeah,
Uh,
and I feel like this is kind of a good way to transition into explaining another very important concept of an SEO, because domain rating of 35 is good, 90 is better, of course. 10 is not as good. So there is this like mythical figure of the backlink in SEO where everybody knows you need backlinks, but nobody knows what backlinks are about. So backlinks are nothing more than somebody giving a recommendation about your site, meaning that there is a link on site A linking to site B. That's a backlink. So the higher the quality of this domain, the more importance it gets to Google, because it is coming from a person that Google trusts, in this case, a website. And the more people that Google trust recommend your site, the higher your domain authority is going to become. So it's kind of understanding a concept of word of mouth applied to Google, kind of.
So, I mean, I think I agreed 100%. And I think going back, I guess, to these basic principles or foundational principles of what SEO really is, I think rolling it back one or two steps further, I think there would be almost like how you technically have set up a website. Um, there's a bunch of things that are included in sort of how you set up a website, but there are two important elements here. One, that it loads fast, and that it's compatible for mobile phones, because
Yeah.
majority of all websites are mobile, and it's also, both of these are elements, that variables that Google take into account when they actually decide or not to decide to rank your website and landing page. And then you have sort of the next sort of area, which would be on page. And the on page is more on how you internally have structured everything, from your URLs to how you structure actually just how content has been set up on your website, to how you name your pictures, to also how you structured with, say, subject headlines, headline 1, headline 2, headline 3s, in terms of simple structure, and then internally linking pages that you own on that website in a smart cluster format, to then have external links as well to trustworthy areas.
Yeah. So
And then
let's just say that when you get to basic of SEO, it seems from what we are discussing that anybody should be understanding there are two types of basics, right? Basics of how your website should be even set up to be ready for SEO. But the second level of basic is going to be understanding the terminology, right? Because you want to be able to understand what a domain authority is. You want to know what a backlink is. You want to know what an internal link is. Even before making anything with all of that, right? The real basic is understanding the tools you're working with and what you need in order to perform a good job, right?
I mean, I think people like you and me, or individuals. I mean, we help a lot of businesses. I guess, so give them a dictionary in terms of what is what in this minefield. Because there's what does this mean? Should I care about that, and so on. But I think there's also important for us, because I think SEO, particularly for a long time, have, I think, been called a black box. You don't really know what's going on inside of it, and therefore everyone sort of knows that we need to do SEO, but
Yeah.
what is the real impact of it? Um, and that's, I mean, I've worked at companies, I've run projects with SEO, that as soon as you need to cut cost, SEO is the first thing that normally goes. Often because of the lack of understanding of what it really is and how you
Let
go
me
about
interrupt you for a second. You said
it. Sure.
something very interesting there, the lack of understanding, right?
Correct. Black
So,
box. So I think in our job, but also I think what has started happening is that more and more people are starting to talk about it in simpler formats. It means something, and it's more complex, when you start going into sort of the terminology of what SEO is and like marketing jargon. But if you speak to finance people, they will also use a lot of abbreviations that us deadly don't understand. But
Yeah, but
there's
there is a
this
big
in
difference.
between.
There is a big difference though. SEO, there is one word that since I started working in marketing is it's the one word that has never disappeared from SEO, which is the magic word. It's a couple of words. It's the magic phrase 6 to 12 months. Every time somebody talks about SEO, they say it's gonna take at least 6 to 12 months to see an impact, which is normal, right? Because it takes time. And I feel like when it comes to SEO, I've noticed that for me, customer retention has exponentially increased when I started breaking down SEO to very simple terms to my customer. For instance, coming back to the example of Alex giving me a recommendation, you can go back and thinking about an influencer, right? An influencer doesn't become famous overnight. Well, there are cases, but the regular thing is you slowly become more popular, more popular, more popular, and then people start buying the products you promote because they start liking you and trusting you. Well, with SEO, it's kind of you're building a famous person. In this case, a famous website. You cannot build it overnight. That's why we talk about 6 months to a year, because for the algorithms to start building trust with your backlinks and with all the things you do, it takes time. And I feel, particularly in an era today where budgets have been cut a lot with the interest rate increase, people that don't have a clear picture of the long-term result of the SEO or the understanding per se, not because it's their fault, it's simply it's a different work for them, they might end up cutting SEO budget first. Would you say that educating the customer is probably a very peculiar part of the work of an SEO company?
I mean, I think it is almost. I mean, it's sad to say, but it's about 80% of the job.
Yeah.
Because because I think, and I think a lot of other SEO people, if there are other SEO people listening into this right here, right now, they will also agree and that there is a certain science to how to best go about things and how one should go about. It's very rational SEO, and you can break it down into scientific sort of measured approaches. But the one ingredient that is required is always time and patience and sort of diligence. But if the internal stakeholders or external stakeholders don't understand those implications and sort of what it really takes in their terms, because I think what is very important in these type of conversations is that we need to understand the end receiver,
Yeah.
and often that's not the case. And now when we wanting to give the best to our clients, for example, it's very important that we often start by doing a deep dive in terms of audit to be able to sort of set the scene, and we go through the basic three areas, which would be the technical setup, the on-page setup, and what you sort of referred back to, the backlinks, because Rocco mentioned good backlinks, but he didn't mention the toxic ones that are the ones that could also sink sort of your
Your performance, yeah.
rating. So the magic number of 35 is that if you're below 35, you would probably be considered toxic.
Yeah.
And but I think by doing that audit and then together having at least a prior meeting and a work sort of having a roadmap together with client where you agree on certain milestones and what they actually significantly mean and what should be worked on when, is key, because often SEO, internal and external, have this tendency of being things that are being pushed aside, particularly when we start talking about website or product, because there are a lot more exciting things to want to work on than, say, compressing images on your
Of
website.
course.
Because even though they have a negative impact on the user experience and loading time.
Alex, question that I had for you, because we kind of talked about, the technical aspect, the backlinks, all the things that basically, are gonna get your SEO inside. But you mentioned earlier, for example, when you set up a website, that you need to name the image appropriately and you need to use the ALT tags. For those of you that don't know, that ALT tags is a way for Google to read the image. Google read text; they don't read images. When you hover over an image, a little square appears with the text. That's the ALT tag. Now, the question here that I'm sure many people have is the following. Let's say I set up ALT tags based on a keyword research I perform, and I see that those terms are good terms to rank for. The competition is medium, let's say, and I want to focus on those. After how long would you consider is appropriate to change ALT tags, for example, because maybe they're not ranking for the keyword and you want to change strategy? Because in PPC, you get the traffic, it doesn't work, you pause it. When would you quote unquote pause a tag to replace it to see if it gets better results?
I think it has to do with your tactical strategy and in general, because I think we're boiling it down to almost, if we're now starting going more in depth in terms of on page, to do on page properly, we would most likely start off with doing proper keyword research to actually start seeing what opportunities are there in terms of what are people searching for, what are high volume keywords, and what's the competition of these. And then it's similar to how paid works.
Yeah.
You're trying to find gaps where you are able to start ranking and paid, not pay too much, and in an SEO, gain traction and get indexed and start generating and getting some traffic from these keywords.
Yeah.
And once you've done that keyword research, you start narrowing it down to, okay, how and what should we start sort of working on. Once we know that, we might need to require to start, and this could be once you start things off or you change your strategy in terms of keywords. You will then go through everything from, okay, the slug. Okay, does the slug contain keywords that this landing page is about? If it doesn't, you should probably do a 301 redirect. So a hard redirect to a URL slug that is more appropriate to the content that you want to cover. Then you will have the title tag, so what that landing page is called and what people and Google visualize the associated with. And then you have something called meta tag, where most likely when you're out navigating on Google are those 160 to 165 characters that you see what that landing page will be about.
Yeah, let's say is the text below the blue one.
That well put. But then we start then. Okay, then we have what content should we actually write about to cover this or these particular keywords? Okay, how should we structure it? Okay, well, often in today's world, Google like expert and expertise, and then trust is another one, and authoritativeness is two other parts. So, but with that, okay, we need to start writing, and not short copy anymore. It needs to be a lengthier. It needs to show that you're an expert and you have experience in the topic, and make sure that keywords are in there. You have then we call them H1s, but headline one. So that's the subject of that piece. So that's the one that you often find at the top.
Yeah.
You have an image most often at the top, and then you have H2s. So basically you structure the website, and then there's a certain methodology in terms of that. If you have the keyword in the slug, the keyword in the title tag, the keyword in your headline, your subject line, you should also have it in the intro part of your copy.
No, it's very interesting. And basically what you're saying is that there is really no time to which you decide if a keyword is not working. It's all based on the strategy you have. And in addition to that, that's where you can do a good connection, because let's say you're writing an article and this article is going to be focused on the keyword SEO for small firms, and you're probably going to use the keyword in the ALT tag somewhere in the article. You're going to name the page, you're going to have the URL, but now you have everything there, but somebody has got to tell Google that that page is worth reading when somebody's searching for SEO for small agencies. This is where the backlinks come into play. They're telling Google, hey, I'm Mr. 80 domain rating. I think this article is good. Then there is Mr. 70, Mr. 60, another Mr. 80. All of a sudden, Google is going to be like, wow, all of these cool people are recommending me this article. I'm going to put it on page 1. And actually, you know what? Top 3, because those are all good domain ratings. But if Mr. 20 talks about you, Google is like, this guy is like not serious. It's not for real. And that's a kind of how your efforts on page are going to be valued. So the keyword research you did might be always good. The fact you're not getting results is that you're not putting any effort behind it to make sure that these articles are being picked up.
That's 100%. And then you have the passive way that you're describing. So I mean, you can write title tags and have H1s or subject lines that are very provocative. Thought provocative ones have this tendency of getting people's attention. And that's often good. Thought provocative pieces also, if it's a solid expert piece that you've put together that is worth reading, you most likely will have a lot of people finding you, linking to you, and both because it's really strong content and it's actually something that is worth reading, and you have a thought provocative title. Because
Yeah.
you can't just both emotionally, but then you have this rationale that kicks in and says, "Oh, this is great."
No, I agree.
So it's exactly what you're saying. The influencer space. If I link to you, I like to link to other people that are popular.
But Alex, how long is it gonna last, this backlinking concept? Because in my honest opinion, it's a big scam, right? Because you buy backlinks nowadays. So it really, the system doesn't really work that well, because technically the concept, the way it started is that you write such good content that people read it and they decide to mention that content, and as a result of that, it's considered good. But now you can go online and you can buy a backlink from somebody that has a 70 domain rating. You're gonna pay good money for it, right? But it kind of defeats the purpose of the way Google was built, right? There is no negating that. So how long do you think this system is gonna last?
I mean, honestly speaking, I think for the last 20 years that I've sort of been in this profession, everyone keeps saying that backlinks, it's over. There's a different way. There's even, I mean, you can go out and search yourself. You will see that backlinks aren't that important anymore. And it will be mentioned. So I think I still believe in that proven. Again, I think there's a lot of hypothesis, and you can only really prove to yourself by testing. So I guess to really answer your question, I actually don't know, because at the moment there's no other way. At
Yeah,
least for a search engine such as Google that is dominantly built around a full-on network of links.
like I think, well, first of all, backlinks still work because you can totally see traffic going up the moment you do a good backlink strategy, right? But I think the future, and I don't know when, because unfortunately I don't own any of these major companies that decide this stuff. I think we're going to end up working with social sharing and sort of, instead of domain rating, a user rating, because I'm thinking that you write a good article, you have good content, what's going to happen? People are going to like it and share it, right? People are going to like it and interact with them. So I think it's going to go down to the users rather than to the actual like backlinking strategy, because Google is moving in that direction. For example, the Google certification for AdWords. Now you got to install a software that records your video or your audio and monitors all computers around you, because they've noticed there were people that were Googling the questions, right? So they know that there is a problem and they're working on it. I think it's just a more complex issue to solve.
I mean, I've started seeing there are experiments being conducted, particularly in the SEO space on e-com and products in the products world, Japan and I think US. I think you need to opt into these experiments, but where your search experience will look very different.
Yeah.
Where there's almost like these FAQ questions, but instead of FAQ questions, so if you want to buy something, say you want to buy a pair of Ray-Bans for the sake of it, you would be able to go to different websites, but instead of visiting them, you can click and it sort of scrolls down. So you will actually see both from a user, so the trust point of view, the user ratings.
Yeah.
So let's see where it's heading. Considering that Google has its own generative AI engine that they're now testing and seeing how they best can incorporate into the space. It's still super early days. I think it's the last 2 days, or sorry, these last 2 months that they've really started pushing this. And I mean, since the beginning of this month, uh, Google even rewrote their own playbook on content,
Interesting.
where before they didn't accept AI generated content. And then it was more of a statement saying that they will only value and rank content that was written, uh, content useful content written by people. Now they've summarized it by um, it's useful content for people.
Yeah, which makes sense.
So
Like,
they've removed that aspect completely.
which makes total sense, because if you think about that, like, why would you limit efficiency for businesses, right? That goes against completely. Google has their own AI, so
I think the complexity starts kicking in, where if we're going back to what I said in terms of experience, and experience, expertise, trust, and authority, and when you have content that is this, you aren't able to create that. You partly can do the research today, at least with the help of
yeah,
any generative AI tool
correct,
out
correct.
there, but you will never be able to add that touch
Of
that
course.
a human that and also making it unique. And then I think you have the aspects additionally that makes it more complicated as well. And because at times SEO, I'd say, is often for consideration stage. So you'll have a lot of people finding you. They come to you organically, but they might come to you directly or via paid ad secondary,
Correct.
and actually purchase whatever that they've researched.
No, that is correct.
But you also, you can write for different parts of the funnel,
Yeah.
and it will be extremely difficult. Again, I believe that you can save a lot of the time by utilizing automation and generative AI, and but you also need to add that extra work into creating good quality.
No, of course, I agree with that. And in general, like, all the good content is based on experience, and your experience cannot be replicated by an AI, right? Because you might have your unique approach. What I was talking to a friend the other day, Alex, about this whole AI situation, and I was like, there are way too many marketers in the world. And finally, there is something that is removing the need of low level marketers, and people with a good strategic mind, they're really good at their job, they're going to be able to thrive, because they're going to be able to provide their service to more people, where all the time consuming elements are going to be taken away by machine. And what really makes the difference, which is your strategic mind, your strategic approach, is gonna thrive in that environment. So I do think all it's gonna do is it's gonna remove all the fuss that actually does a lot of damage for people that end up working in such an environment, and it is going to allow for people that have a specific skill set work better, right?
No, I mean it's a way of being empowered, of course. I agree 100%. But I think I still believe that I think it's maybe not your strategic mind, but it's also your way of questioning and thinking outside the box that also will enable you to, and where there's opportunities in this field.
Yeah,
Because I think blindly believing that you will be replaced, or that AI will be able to do, or that from a paid point of view, that Google's Performance Max solution will be the solution for you. One shouldn't buy that blindly. One needs to test it,
of
uh,
course.
validate that is this actually better.
I agree.
um, so I think critical mind, I think, is important, particularly in generative AI days where it sounds very authoritative and that it's always right.
Yeah, no, I mean, I am glad to AI. I mean, I found the software that does all the transcripts of videos where you put the subtitles and everything. That would have taken me hours to do. Now, in like 2 minutes, I got subtitles to any video I want. I'm like, why wouldn't I use it? It saves everybody so much time, right?
Exactly. So I mean, I guess we're going back to like the from an on-page point of view, there are certain ways that we can get ahead, but I still believe to really get, you need creativity, um, and you still would require the experience and the expertise to create trustworthiness
Of course.
and also authority. And if you are selling stuff, I mean, I think you bang on the butt there, Rocco, that user generated reviews content will be very dominating going forward, because it will really give indications of, is this good or not.
And Alex, there is a lot that we could talk. We're almost getting toward the end of our meeting here, but there was one more topic that I wanted your opinion on, because I think it might interest a lot of our listeners here. So, like we talked about, to kind of summarize, image compression, ALT text, tags, meta tags, title tags, URLs, images. We talked about backlinks. We kind of actually made it easier to understand, but and we talked about the use of AI as well and how this is impacting SEO. So the last thing is going to be connecting to one of the points you made a minute ago, which was about SEO is for consideration, right? It's something that users start considering your brand, and from there, they basically decide whether you're worth purchasing or not, which also means there might be a chance that you're not going to track that sale on SEO because it's going to be a first touch point. So would you say that one of the skill set of a good SEO person needs to be attribution? They need to be able to work to attribute traffic and sales to a specific engagement, because on some companies are like a very nice CRM like HubSpot, the user comes in, but the user might not be generating a lead and might come back on another device. So I think attribution becomes key, right? Because eventually your customer is going to ask for results.
I mean, it's. I'll let you finish your question, or was it more of a statement?
No, it was a statement. And hi, Veronica. Thank you so much for
Veronica.
joining. No, the question is like, you need to be good at attribution, right? Because you're taking 6 to 12 months to get some traffic, right? Or to get that decent traffic. Then traffic is going to come in. But I agree with you. People take 6 to 7 visits to a website before converting. If you do not have a good attribution, all you're going to see is the overall business volume increasing, and maybe it is attributing to a remarketing campaign or direct traffic or email marketing, right?
I mean, because I think we live in a world where this is particularly difficult. I think it's less so difficult in a B2C world, because the touch points and sort of, I think the time from first visit or engagement on a website to actually doing conversion. We should be able to almost see the first touch point and then the last touch point and sort of what actually triggered that. So it could actually have been an organic visit first time, or say even from social media, to then come to your website via organic, to then finally be bought back by a remarketing campaign. We can easily set that up in terms of tracking.
Yeah,
And
that's good though. I think that's very important.
but
Like,
but those are the baselines, and I think depending again if you're a B2B or B2C, you if it's a B2B, you can also set up lead scoring models that a informs which of these users that are on your website right here right now are more likely and whom you should actually do outreach to, because their user patterns are very similar to other buyers, and meaning they have a higher lead scoring.
that makes it basically like they need somebody like Alex to show them how to track that, because otherwise, whenever things go well, marketing people like me, they tend to get the merit, but likely, like, we are the ones telling actually SEO is working, so it's like it takes some work on that. But I do see your point, Alex.
But yet again, I think I was reading this very interesting, again, thought provocative piece, but I think sometimes it's always been this saying, what doesn't get measured doesn't get done. And sometimes there must also exist a certain belief that this is actually working, um, and that you can see a difference
Yeah.
and a significance in that. And I think one would be able to run, if one wouldn't believe sort of indirectly in, say, a global SEO campaign or strategy, you can start by doing something local.
Thank you.
Or you can actually just do remarketing on your current SEO traffic on your paid to actually see, how is this converting versus something else.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. And that makes a great point, Alex. And I know that we're running short of time, but I would like to remind one more time to everyone. Uh, Alex is offering a free SEO audit for your accounts. It's free. He's not a hard seller. He's a very nice guy. If you want to take advantage of it, the URL is yourdigitalassembly.com/SEO audit. Again, feel free to take advantage of it. And in addition, I would like to also thank Nada, who sends greetings, and thanks you, Alex, for the answer to the question. And I think that should be it, Alex. I would ask you kindly to stay online when I end the stream to be able to discuss our next dates. But I just wanted to thank everybody for listening. There were a lot of people today connecting, and if you guys have ever any questions about anything we talked about, you can come on LinkedIn, you can comment on our live. There is a copy on YouTube and all of the major podcast platforms. Alex, thank you so much. We're gonna schedule a few more of these coming up in October.
Beautiful. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, I'll touch base with you guys in October.
Yeah, sounds good, Alex. Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Yeah.